So hi guys, I'm speaking a bit louder than normal, so I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm basically going to be doing a very quick video on what could potentially happen if Donald Trump does decertify the nuclear Iran deal today. Um, Today being, can't get a date, 13th, Friday the 13th, so it's not, if you're superstitious, it's not exactly a lucky day. So let's get cracking.
You know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint of your answers.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
So after the media outcry of what is the calm before the storm, what is the calm before the storm, he recently implied that the calm before the storm comment was in reference to North Korea in his recent Fox interview. I don't believe that he's referring to North Korea when he's talking about the calm before the storm. I think he's talking about the Iran nuclear deal, because that really is the calm before the storm. If he's referring to North Korea, he's already in the storm. There is no calm before it. The calm before it came years ago. Now he's in the middle of that storm. The calm before the storm actually refers to the Iran nuclear deal. The Iran nuclear deal was reached in 2015 with 5 countries plus 1 in the European Union, those countries being the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, France, and China, plus Germany, and obviously the European Union. This deal aimed to curb the Iranian nuclear program and basically exchanged lifting sanctions on Iran for them like dismantling their nuclear facilities and bringing an end to their nuclear enrichment program. So that deal was reached over many months and obviously by 6 countries, including the European Union, alongside those 6 countries. So it wasn't an easy deal to reach. So what happens if Trump doesn't recertify the deal, which he, under the current plans, has to recertify the deal every 3 months, every 90 days. So there's basically 3, in my mind, there's 3 options for what comes out, and one stands at the top. So if Trump was to certify the deal, great. That's the end of that. It's certified for another 3 months. Everything can continue as it is with Iran. However, considering the things that Donald Trump has said about Iran and the nuclear deal and how it's the worst deal ever that he's ever seen, it's really bad for America. It does nothing for America and does everything for Iran. It's highly unlikely that he's going to certify the deal, as it's one of his campaign promises to decertify the deal as well. This option is pretty much off the table. So we're on to decertifying the deal. And what happens after he decertifies the deal? It goes to Congress. Congress then have 60 days to either reimpose sanctions on Iran. If they end up not reaching a deal, that will be basically doing nothing, or they can attempt to amend the deal. Now I'm going to deal with the imposing the sanctions against Iran first. If they do impose sanctions against Iran already said that they will withdraw from the deal. Imposing sanctions on Iran would be in breach of the deal, so that's scenario number 1. If Trump were not to certify, the minority or majority leaders in either house of Congress would have 60 days to introduce legislation to reimpose nuclear-related sanctions on Iran. These could include the kind of severe measures against the country's banking system and oil exports that helped force the Iranians into nuclear negotiations during the Obama administration. If such a sanctions package were to get through Congress, there's very little chance Trump, who set the whole process in motion, would veto it. Reinstating the sanctions would put the United States in breach of the Iran deal and could lead to the unraveling of the agreement in a matter of months. Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has said that in the event Trump doesn't certify, his government will wait for Congress to make its decision, which is 60 days. and that Iran could choose to remain in the deal even without the United States, which they won't. This would depend on whether Britain, France, and Germany, who are also signatories to the accord, decide to join in the renewed punishment of Iran or to resist it. China and Russia are highly unlikely to agree to any renegotiations on the deal, so that already puts two of the major participants out of the picture. Britain has already expressed its support for the deal, as well as France and Germany. Germany, however, have said that if the rest of the world think that Iran is not complying with the deal, then Germany will just follow what the rest of the world thinks, even if it has its own opinions. That brings us on to the second option, which is for Congress to do nothing. Now, if Congress do nothing, let's scroll down. That's the third option down here. So if Congress does nothing, Trump's move to decertify could end up like the healthcare plan, which he's now issued some sort of executive order over, which I haven't had the chance to look into yet. It would basically end up with the situation of if Trump decertifies the deal and Congress doesn't impose sanctions on Iran, it would basically go back to Trump and would be again looked at to be recertified in 3 months' time. The problem with that is it could make European banks and companies more reluctant to do business with Iran, which would affect Iran's economy and increase opposition to deal among the Iranians. So most Iranians would probably want to withdraw from the deal. It alone can send a signal that American presidents cannot be trusted to uphold deals done by prior presidents. They're saying here that might not kill off the deal at once, but it could spark a series of tit-for-tat provocations by the Iranians and Americans in a sort of a death by a thousand cuts sort of move. So Congress not doing nothing would cause banks and other companies to not have confidence in doing business in Iran, which would affect their economy and most likely result in Iran leaving the nuclear deal. The third option is for Congress to improve the deal. Now, I'm not going to go into this one too much because it's clear from Iran's side that they will not renegotiate the deal. So that would just leave either imposing sanctions, which again, Iran would leave the nuclear deal for, or having it go back to Trump, in which case, more than likely, there'd probably be some sort of executive order issued, which could be challenged in the courts, but would likely take months before they actually come up with some sort of solution to the problem. So, in the event that Trump does decertify the nuclear deal, he's also basically threatened to do something else, which is to put Iran's Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist list, which would basically it's like sanctions. They'd be restricted from doing a lot of things. In that event, let me just reload this page because it's not responding. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, so if that was to happen, scroll down. We are hopeful. This is from the Iranian Foreign Minister, Bahram Khwarizmi. He says, we are hopeful that the United States does not make this strategic mistake. If they do, Iran's reaction would be firm, decisive, and crushing, and the United States should bear all of its consequences. Also, he mentions that, well, this is a different person, Jafari. So this is Muhammad Ali Jafari. And he said on Sunday, if the news is correct about the stupidity of the American government in considering the Revolutionary Guards a terrorist group, then the Revolutionary Guards will consider the American army to be like Islamic State all around the world. He then goes on to say that this would basically end the chances for future dialogue with the United States, and that the Americans would have to move their regional bases outside the 2,000 kilometer, 1,250 mile range of the IRGC's missiles. That's basically saying, if you put our our Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist watch list, or yeah, if you put our Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist watch list, then you better move your bases. It's a declaration of a potential act of war. So in that event, which I'll be watching closely for when Trump goes on TV to make this announcement. If he does put them on the watch list, then it's highly likely that it would lead to, well, it definitely lead to Iran withdrawing from the nuclear deal, as well as them threatening the military bases that are within a 2,000-kilometer range of their IRGC's missiles. So in that event, if Trump decertifies the deal and Congress imposes sanctions, Iran will basically start up their enrichment program again. And if they put the Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist watch list or the terrorist list, then they will pretty much start up their enrichment program again. So in that event, Israel wouldn't be happy, as they weren't, a couple of years ago, up until before this nuclear deal was reached, they had threatened to preemptively strike Iran to prevent them from gaining the ability to launch nuclear weapons. And this story is this is a very long article, but it's basically talking about the total destruction that would be visited upon Iran if nuclear weapons were dropped there. So in this first sentence, it's just talking about the effect on the people that would happen. So in those first minutes, the people will be stunned, their eyes will be fixed in a 1,000-yard stare, their nerve endings would be numbed, and they'll just be standing there. And then soon you'll notice that they're holding their arms at a 45-degree angle, and your eyes will be drawn to their hands, and you'll be thinking your mind is playing tricks, but it won't. Their fingers will start to resemble stalactites, which is basically it's like an icicle rock formation that comes down from the ceiling. It's basically painting an image in your mind of the skin melting off of the hands, and falling down like goo. So it's not exactly the best image. So you see me melting toward the ground, then it wouldn't be long until the screaming began. You'd hear shrieking and moaning of tens of thousands of victims all at once. They'll be standing amid a sea of shattered concrete and glass, a wasteland punctuated by the shells of buildings, orphaned walls, stairways leading nowhere. The scenarios are, as they say here, staggering. An Israeli attack on the Iranian capital of Tehran using 500 kiloton weapons would, the study estimates, kill 7 million people. That's 86% of the population, and leave close to 800,000 people wounded. A strike with half of the yield of the 500 kiloton weapons, so 250 kiloton weapons, would kill an estimated 5.6 million people and injure 1.6 million, according to the predictions that have been made by this software and this group that's looking into it. So it would be catastrophic, basically. So just to catch you up on where we are at, if Trump decertifies the nuclear deal and the Congress impose sanctions on Iran, that will probably lead to Iran going back to their enrichment program. If Donald Trump puts their Revolutionary Guard on the terrorist list, that will probably lead to a withdrawal from the program and them starting up their nuclear reactors again, or starting their enrichment program again, which would then lead to probably a joint attack between Israel and America. If they were unable to negotiate Iran having nuclear weapons, then there's only one other option, which is to bomb them to stop them from having it. The problem is that Iran has allies, and one of those allies is Russia. And Russia, although they have been beaten in the past and are not as powerful as the American military, they are still a powerful military, and they have been showing their willingness to step in to these conflicts throughout the last couple of years, including in Syria, involving themselves in democratic elections and hacking companies and things like that. So they're really stepping up their ability to wage warfare on multiple multiple fronts. So that's basically the end of my video. It's just to keep an eye on what Donald Trump does today, Friday the 13th. See if he does decertify the nuclear deal. We'll then have a 60-day kind of waiting period where we'll find out if Congress are going to impose sanctions or not. If they do impose sanctions, look out for Iran withdrawing from the nuclear deal and starting up their enrichment program again. If that happens, look out for the reaction from, the reaction from Israel and America as to a potential preemptive strike on any potential nuclear facilities in Iran. After that, everything goes into a spider web of possibilities, from Russia then attacking America for its part in this attack on Iran, the Middle East banding together and going against Israel, and then you've obviously got North Korea on the side and China as well. So that's why it's a spider web of possibilities. After, if the events take place as I think they may take place, leading to Iran restarting their enrichment program, then the next logical steps after that, if America and Israel really do want to stop Iran from gaining nuclear weapons, will be to bomb them. Whether that's a nuclear bomb or some sort of other bomb, I don't know. But if it is, even if it's not nuclear weapons and it's conventional weapons, it will most likely lead to Russia becoming involved, and Iran's allies banding against Israel. So that could potentially be another path to World War III. There are a couple of them coming up now, but this is a potential one. And considering the whole calm before the storm comment was said leading up to this recertification or decertification of the Iran deal, I think that that this particular storm is the Iran nuclear deal and the possibility that Iran could then start up its enrichment program again if the deal falls to pieces. So that's it.